Good morning, everybody. It's 6:15 on the 7th of May, 2025. And yeah, very strange news. It's like there's not that much news, really. Not much has been reported since yesterday. Not so much, except for big news. It's like, looks like the war between Pakistan and India has started. Now, they were saying it was going to be inevitable, and it looks like it was, that they wanted, basically they want to go to war. And I guess now they have it, and both of them are nuclear armed countries. And I don't know, so much for Trump saying there's no wars going to start when he's the president, and of course he's looking for a war with Iran. You know he's a lot of bluster, so you never know really about Trump. Lots of things. The guy, I think he tries to be as radical as he possibly can, and as I don't know, Trump is he's a crazy guy. He's a crazy guy. There's no doubt about it. I never know what to say about Trump, so I'll just keep going on this other stuff. So, but another thing is, I'll mention that first because it's not anything we didn't expect. So, Germany now has a new chancellor. Well, we all were knowing it's going to be Merz, and the first time they had some vote in the Bundestag, he had lost. He lost it by 6 votes, and Alice Weidel from the, what is it called, the Alternative for Deutschland party, she was saying he should resign and hand over whatever, way too premature, because right away after that they had a second vote. Well, not right away. What they did is they did some wheelings and dealings. It's just like in the United States. They go to this person that maybe voted against and that person and all that, and they win them over. They offer them money. Well, not personal money, but funding in some different ways. Who knows what? Anything. They look, and then I think a lot of time maybe they might have an advisors or staffers that know exactly what a lot of these politicians want, so they go and they offer to give it to them. That's how that works. I know that. And Merz, of course, you've got to realize that it was probably inevitable that he would become the chancellor, because he's an agent of BlackRock, and BlackRock is the wealthiest entity on planet Earth by far. BlackRock has far more money, and controls more money than the entire United States government. They probably have more money than the entirety of all of Europe combined. And Merz is the guy that brought BlackRock big time into Germany. And BlackRock, as you know, holds a lot of Ukraine, and so it's kind of strange on what is going on there. But it looks like, I was saying, I had a video before, and this was about, wondering, well, why is BlackRock, doing some certain moves? But it looks like this is a big deception. There's a huge deception right now going on. Trump, I guess, was doing this for public opinion, but apparently, he's even trickier than Zelensky himself. So a lot of the things about Donald Trump, it turns out it's probably fake. He's just faking a lot of stuff. He's faking. It's incredible, because it looks like he's firmly on the side of Ukraine. And maybe he always has been. So even when things started getting worse, and then you see how Zelensky was acting like he was so sure that he was in control of things. And it's probably some kind of play acting that Trump's saying, you don't have any cards. And I don't know, it looks like Zelensky has had the cards all the time. And now he's got the entire deck, it looks like. And he's controlling Trump. And it's pretty obvious. Trump, apparently somebody was, I remember when Trump got in, and it was news, and we all heard about this. The weapons shipments have stopped. They stopped the weapons even on midship, and the ships turned around. They even said that the ships turned around in the ocean that were sending weapons to Ukraine. And it turns out that was fake news. It's incredible. That was fake news. And Trump had never stopped the weapons shipments. So the weapons have always been going to Ukraine. There was a little bit of a thing right there. I guess it was maybe I think it was the Department of Defense that some people were hesitant. They slowed it down, and they did put a halt on it. They didn't turn any ships around, apparently, but they kind of put a halt on it, and it resumed immediately right after that. And the weapons have always been flowing to Ukraine, even during Donald Trump's time. And that money, he didn't stop this $1.2 billion that Joe Biden signed to go to Ukraine right before he left office. And Trump has even allocated, maybe as a short stopover, maybe for a short period of time. A lot of this stuff is probably done in secret. He's what is it? It's like 310 million, a program started by Biden. Yeah, as you know, I mentioned it already. To maintain and send parts and things for F-16s, and more F-16s are going to Ukraine. And I think, who was it? Somebody was saying that they thought it was coming from Netherlands, but I think Netherlands was. But I think the biggest recipient, or the biggest donor, I believe, was Denmark, or maybe Denmark had sent most everything there before. A lot of countries, they pretty much emptied everything out and sent it all to Ukraine. Yeah. Anyway, let's go to some of this other news. Israel again bombed Yemen. So the United States and Israel bombed a port city in Yemen, and of course they did huge destruction there. And again, but this time now, it was Israel, and they bombed the airport to make it completely inoperable. These are all civilian flights. I don't know if Yemen even has any military aircraft. But anyway, Israel destroyed the airport, so it's totally inoperable. And they bombed power plants. How many? Let's see, at least 2 power plants, and a concrete factory. And the United States on their own is still bombing all the time. Well, there's a message from Trump. Let's get to that in a bit here. I do this news like when it comes, when I'm reading it, and that chronologically in that way, and sometimes so a little bit something else refers to a different story, but I'll talk about it afterwards. I don't have the time I don't get paid for this, so I'm not going to sit around and start cutting and pasting and doing all this stuff to put huge amounts of time and make a continuous story and put it all in one time. So let's see what happened after that. It's being put out. A lot of leaders are now RSVPing to go to the May 9th parade for the Soviet Union's defeat of the Nazis. Not Donald Trump. And so I guess now, what was it? Some of these later, there's some smaller countries in Asia, so they already signed on now as well. So it's so far 28 world leaders are going. Huge amount of people. And apparently I saw some kind of a readout, and I guess with all of the people or these leaders that are going, all those countries combined are more than 50% of the world's population. Their leaders are all going there. So it's like, how did that work with the Joe Biden and Europe isolating Russia? And like I'm saying, there's way too many indications now that Trump is fully on board with all the stuff that Biden was doing, but he's doing it in a sneaky way and putting out fakes and head fake over here and all this sort of stuff, and making it look like he's trying to be fair. But I tell you what, the indications are showing that he's not at all. But I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But anyway, Zelensky, he called his parade, I think, also on the 9th, not the 8th. The West wants to have Victory Day on the 8th. I don't really know the difference, why the 8th and the 9th. What day is better? Russia has it on the 9th, and Zelensky was thinking, that he's got the longer thing, and so he said, I'm going to have one on the 9th as well, and everybody's going to want to come to see me because I am Zelensky. I have the biggest panties collection. I even have Macron's panties, and now I have Donald Trump's panties too in my collection. So everybody's going to come to me, and they're not going to go to Russia. But it turns out he got 0, absolutely 0, so he had to cancel his May 9th celebration. Whatever. Russia's always had the biggest one anyway, so it's not going to... not the biggest one of those, I mean the biggest parade, so, which is maybe very similar to the... Anyway, but, okay. And the worst news as what's going on, like I said, is this thing going on in between India and Pakistan, and I guess by India it's called Operation Sindoor. And I was kind of looking, this started, I guess it was kicking off, I think maybe it was Pakistan's counterattack. I guess India started this one in response to some sort of terrorist attacks, which I don't think Pakistan government has anything to do with anyway. But India started this off, and they bombed some what they said terrorist infrastructure. One of them was some woman in a dress, and she was bloodied. They show some footage of that. One was a young, not young, but I don't know, maybe 30 some years old, some guy. Very well could have been some kind of a terrorist. I don't have any idea. India says they're bombing terrorist infrastructure. By the way, I'm talking fast. I'm going to try to get this done, this video, because I'm hoping to go to Borisov today. You know, that is the place where Napoleon had his first defeat, and actually what caused, you know, the tremendous weakening of his military, so that he was allowed to get defeated in Waterloo. So his military was decimated by the Russians back then. So it makes me wonder, you know, why all these people, why do they friggin' even want to go invade Russia? And it's like, well, what did Russia do to them? You know, nothing. Some of this stuff, it might be some kind of retribution from whatever happened hundreds of years before that. I don't know. If Russia beat them or who knows what, you know, it's just like Finland. Like, why would Finland had neutrality? Russia said, we're not going to leave you completely alone. We'll give you your sovereignty, and we'll never touch you. You can trade with us if you want. You can trade with anyone in the West if you want. And then, I don't know, somehow the West won them over. Who knows, with threats. You know, I tell you what, a lot of times how this is, and I know this too, like I said, I worked with some bigger types of people, and a lot of time how this works. And remember, there was even a big politician in Oregon. Anyway, some of these people, they look for people a lot of time that have these weaknesses, a weakness for money, like, Zelensky, you know, who, but they look for people that have these weaknesses, and then they can exploit these weaknesses, but they also have to have some other types of skills, you know, a convincing personality or whatever like that. And so they use both of these things. And so, like, say if you have a weakness for little boys, you know, and you're a man or whatever like that, and they give them what they want, and they feed this to them, and they said, you do this, we'll give you that, we'll feed your fetishes and things like that. You know, it's, hey, Epstein Island, do I need to say any more? It's right there in front of your face. So what they do, you know, they can coerce people, and they can get whatever they want. Otherwise, they will be exposed. If you don't do what we say, then we'll expose you. So it's what do they call it? Trump would call that having all the cards, leverage, things like that. So anyway, let's go. Let's keep going here. Operation Sindor, missiles, terrorists. So how did that have anything to do with anything? Anyway, I was leading onto something there, and I sidetracked myself. But this stuff, I saw the timestamp. What I was seeing is a lot of this attacks. It was happening. I think it was the counterattack from Pakistan to India. I think that was like at 1:30 in the morning, Pakistani time. I don't know. And another story: the U.S. lost another F-18 Super Hornet. I guess it was from their own. It's similar like the other one. Maybe they were landing improperly, and you know, I guess it probably fell into the sea. I think it was returning from a bombing raid, bombing some places in Yemen. Let's see. There was another thing, and this is actually a very strong indication. This will tell you. This will tell you sometimes. Oops, a Freudian slip. Here's a Freudian slip from Donald Trump. Freudian slip. You know, as you know, he's a big sports guy. He likes MMA and a lot of other things, and you know, he even goes to those things, and he even plays golf or whatever. But he's a big sports guy, and he was sitting in some meeting, and maybe they didn't really want this to get out, but it did get out, and it was put out that everybody looking at me all the time. It was put out that somebody told Donald Trump that Russia is banned from FIFA. You know, from this World Soccer thing and all that. I mean, they ban Russia from everything. It's punishment just for the fact of being Russia. You know, it's weird. They never banned the Nazis in World War II from anything. As a matter of fact, Adolf Hitler even had the Olympics there one time. And then they made up, you know, if you guys remember that, it was a huge bunch of lies. They say Adolf Hitler refused to shake hands with Jesse Owens. You know, it's supposed to be some kind of tradition that the leader of the country who's ever hosting the Olympics will shake hands with whoever won the 100 meters. But the fact of the matter is that Adolf Hitler did shake hands with Jesse Owens. They have film footage somewhere, and they hide that. They hide that to make Adolf Hitler look, I mean, the whole thing is to make it look worse and worse and worse. And you guys know who controls the media, which country, and which people, basically. And like I said, I'm not going after Jews. I'm going after Zionist Jews, most of these type of people. There is, of course, nasty Jews, there's nasty Christians, there's nasty Muslims, there's all kinds of, it doesn't matter. And, they screwed up all the truth anyway to make everybody think something different. And I'm not saying Adolf Hitler was a good guy, but they do everything to go very, very, very much overboard to make you definitely think that everything he did, I mean, the guy just lived in hatred. And I said before, it's just like even Donald Trump. You see, Donald Trump did a lot of good things. He's doing a lot of really, really nasty things. Like I said, the bad people in history are never as bad as they say, and the good people are never as good as they say. I don't know about Netanyahu on that one. I think he's probably even worse than what they say about him. How could, I don't know how the guy could ever win any votes, but I guess they love this kind of stuff over there. A lot of those people are really heavily indoctrinated in Israel, a lot of the time, just like what's going on in Ukraine. And the Russians are talking about how they're really working on doing it for the entirety of the Western world, and they did already in a lot of the Baltics and things. These people, you have to hate Russia, hate Russia. That's the whole goal. And then they want to swoop in on Russia, divide it all up, and control all of the resources for their benefit, to get those rare earth minerals, to get that oil, to get that gas. Rather than paying a low price, they don't want to pay anything for it. They want to send their companies in. So I don't know, that's how the world works. Okay, so anyway, this FIFA thing, Donald Trump did not know that Russia was banned from FIFA. And instead of him saying, hey, we shouldn't put politics into sports, that's pretty nasty. The space program, by the way, we still cooperate with Russia in the space program. In sports, that was the whole idea of the Olympics in the early days, back in the Greek times, is to put politics aside and have competition in a more peaceful manner. But he didn't say that. He said, oh, some people are talking about Russia coming back into FIFA, and he was saying, well, that should be a good incentive for them to stop. It's like, what are you, stop? To stop what? Stop? Yeah, so in other words, it's like Donald Trump, he wants Russia to play dead and allow the Ukrainians to continue eliminating people that speak Russian, anybody that has Russian blood in him, to make what is it, genocide or extermination of Russians. The species, as Zelensky, his good friend Zelensky calls them, the species, as I don't know, it looks like maybe because they're both huge. Well, Zelensky has at least, 20 times more money than Donald Trump does, in spite of the fact that he wears these t-shirts and sweatshirts all the time. And we're so humble, oh, we're so humble, oh, please, die, which is the word for give in Russian, die. Somebody made a video, and Zelensky going around, begging all over, die, give me, send your money, send your weapons, send. We'll take the weapons, we'll sell half of them to other countries to make more money, die. And a lot of people, so many people are talking about the billions and billions. And I've made one, I don't know, did I call it this great big huge sucking sound of all this money? It's like a huge powerful vacuum cleaner called Ukraine, and it's like going all over and sucking in all the money from everybody. You don't send the money and you don't send your weapons to Ukraine, you're in for big trouble, buddy. We're going to cut off your gas. We're going to use other countries to go against you. You have to send everything to us because we are Ukraine. We are the master race. So anyhow, but anyway, so Trump is, what is it? Ukraine is not banned from FIFA, even though they were massacring people, 14,000 before the special military operation started. Israel, how many, by now it's over 60,000 Palestinians. They're not banned from FIFA or the European Song Contest or nothing like that, but Russia is banned. Huh, now that's really strange, isn't it? But that's how that works, you know. The Russians are the bad guys, and you will hate the Russians. Um, I was just talking about how the spread of Nazism is going around. It's just unbelievable. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, Russia's the bad guys. And yeah, when I was looking at some of this death toll from what's going on in Pakistan, the first thing I saw was it was like 8 dead and 35 wounded in Pakistan, and 2 missing in the rubble, and only 3. Well, I don't want to say only, but 3 were killed in India. And then, you know, right before I was going to come out to do this video, the death toll is now 80 in Pakistan. I don't know how many in India, but you know, India said they were very careful to just target a terrorist infrastructure. This is the stuff that's going on right now. At least would be right before I started doing this video. I don't know, by the time this video uploads, I'm hoping that YouTube is not going to take another 8 or 10 or 12 hours to upload this video, or whoever. I don't know why that takes so long, but I feel some of it is probably YouTube. Okay, or some of the reason. Mike Pence came out and he did an interview, and like here I'm trashing Trump a lot, and he deserves to be trashed. You know, like I said, there's good things about Trump and there's bad things, and he's a really nasty guy. He really doesn't care. He does not care. And it's like, it was really strange. He said, "Oh, I want to stop the killing." Well, how come he doesn't want to stop Israel's killing of innocent people? You know, there's killing maybe going on of military people for the most part between Ukraine and Russia. But I think they said, what was it? That's another fact that I should put out. Russia said that this last month, or no, it was a week, the last week, just in the last 1 week, I guess it was since the beginning of the military operation. Of course, before that, Ukraine had killed a lot of people. But when it started, you know, and Ukraine kills lots of innocent civilians every week. But this time, I guess, of most innocent civilians, I think, or maybe it's since that, anyway. But they said for a long time, at least, you know, for 1 week, Ukraine had killed 15 civilians, so from their bombings, and they tried to bomb Moscow yesterday and last night. And I'm thinking a lot of this, because Moscow's quite a ways away, and how do you get the drone all the way from Ukraine? It's actually a lot of these people, they're in the area of Moscow, and they're sending drones into Moscow. And who knows what's going to happen on May 9th? A lot of, like I said, leaders RSVP'd, so it's not like it's scaring them. They might have a lot of faith. And you know, Zelensky originally said that that Russia cannot guarantee their safety, and of course he definitely, and a lot of people in Ukraine are threatening to do terrorist bombing and killing people on May 9th. But they're the good guys, and they're not going to get sanctioned. They're not going to get kicked out of FIFA for killing innocent people, because they're Russians. They're a species. By God, don't you know that? Okay. Anyway, Mike Pence, he came out and he was talking about that Trump is a bad thing, that Donald Trump is bringing jobs back to America. And he said, and these are basically his words, he said, it's the American dream to send the jobs overseas, to have cheap labor making things and sending them back to the United States. And I tell you what, I remember this way back in the early 1980s, and I was, you know, and they were, because there was this big engineer in Boeing, and then I was sitting in the car and he was telling somebody else, and he was, you know, that was the same time he was saying, there's this great invention coming, and there's a laser light that makes music play, you know, with CDs. He was talking about, you know, music CDs, and practically obsolete even now. But anyway, he said at the same time, he said, we're not going to be making anything in America. It's going to be so great. We're going to be a service-oriented economy, and we're going to have all the other countries making things for us and sending them to us. And we're going to be getting rich by services. So Pence is kind of saying that sort of a deal. He might be from a similar generation. I don't know. Pence never seemed to have learned the lesson that that's not really a good thing. So he's thinking that's the American dream. That's what he said. To not have jobs in America. And maybe he's thinking that, oh, we'll just print money and everybody has to, and threaten everybody. You know, you better do what we tell you to do, or, you know, we have the world's reserve currency. So we're going to stick it to you. We're going to stick it up. If you don't, you got to do what we tell you to do. We got a big military, and you're paying for it. So we can kill you if you don't do what we say. Anyway, so I was going to just end this note. It's 25, it's going to be 30 minutes. I'll end here in a second or two. That this in my opinion, it's kind of a sad thing that I was taken in, I guess, a lot, and I was thinking that Trump was actually very serious about all, trying to bring out the truth and all that. And in some ways, he certainly is. But a lot of this is to maybe to fool us. I like I said, I was fooled, but it's pretty obvious now, and I think it's undeniable. I think this is undeniable. Trump, he definitely wants to keep the war going in Ukraine, because he was saying something like, if you, and a lot of people said, you stop the weapons flow to Ukraine, the war is going to stop. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. It's like what they were saying about the terrorists, But, a lot of time people didn't know that it was the United States that was backing the terrorists. So it makes you, well, where did ISIS get all that money? Where did Al-Qaeda get all that money to be doing what they were doing? Who's paying all these soldiers? How are they eating? Where's the food coming from for all of these terrorists all over the place? And, it turned out that it was actually, it's put out, and everybody knows the United States was aiding the terrorists in Afghanistan. You remember Pat Tillman? I think it was Pat Tillman. And he was seeing what was going on. He used to be a football player, and I guess he was going to be he's well known in America at playing football. And he joined the military, sort of like what Tulsi Gabbard did. But Tulsi Gabbard, she was, I guess, in a medical unit. I don't know if she knew the truth. But Pat Tillman found out the truth. He was writing back to his brother. And, of course, the United States government found out about that. And a lot of this is all block stuff. There's so much stuff, so much terrible stuff in the United States history. Like I was talking quite a bit about the USS Liberty. People need to look that one up. Look up the Lavon affair, Israel killing Americans. But makes you wonder, well, they're our good friends. We have a special relationship. And they have to, it's like, what? Well, wait a minute. The Egyptians weren't killing Americans, but the Israelis were killing Americans. But yet the Israelis are our friends. So, gosh, I don't know. They need to watch Forrest Gump. Stupid is as stupid does. Evil is as evil does. I mean, So your friends are the ones that sabotage you, stick a knife in your belly, and do all this bad stuff. And the ones that don't harm you, they're your enemies. I guess that's the whole message right there. Obviously, as you guys know what's going on, it's all about money. Where's the money going? Who controls the money? And whoever gets the money, and everybody, whoever will do that, they'll be subservient to the money. And I talked about that book in Germany, Gekauften Journalisten, and how the journalists in Germany are all paid off. They were. And this guy, he was dying of cancer, and he put this stuff out. And of course, the book, they took it out of print, obviously, and how this the money, would go to the journalists to write the stories that make the United States look good, and make the Russians, of course, look bad. But anyway, Donald Trump, he's also a big, it's like he talks about Zelensky being this great salesman, in other words, con artist, and, and Donald Trump himself, I guess he outdid Zelensky. So he had us all fooled. He had me fooled. And he wants to keep the war going. He's never stopped the weapons flow. He's still sending money to Ukraine. And if you want to end this thing, you got to figure out a way. He could use what you would call maybe a sort of a nuclear option and just say, I don't know, stop that, even Elon Musk's father came out, and he knows this story. He's coming out and talking about, Ukraine and all this crap, and he has great respect for the Russians and all that. Elon Musk, he's kind of saying a lot of this stuff like that, but, he's sort of hangs on to Donald Trump for the influence and all that sort of thing. Maybe Trump has got him fooled as well. Got a lot of people fooled. Donald Trump can end this thing. He's not going to end this thing. He's got his own reasons. So it's very obvious to see. Who is this one great guy that said back in the old days, know them by their fruits? So you look at Donald Trump, never done anything positive for Russia. He just puts out some head fakes. Oh, we're reestablishing relations with Russia, but nevertheless, we're going to still keep sticking that knife in their belly as time goes by. We're not going to do anything for them. We're going to go after them. We're going to keep sending weapons to their enemies. We're going to send them. Obama sent blankets. I sent javelins. So I was the one that started giving all the weapons to Ukraine. So I'm the good guy. But I want to stop the killing. So that way. And therefore, I'm going to give weapons that kill people to Russia because I want to stop the killing. Gosh dang it. And I'm bombing Yemen, and I'm good friends with Israel that has now killed 60,000 innocent people. Most of them are children because I want to stop the killing. And they're bombing Lebanon and Syria, and now they're bombing Yemen. We're making the war as big as we can because I'm against war and killing. I mean, I don't know. We all getting fooled, I guess. And it's like Zelensky, and we were wondering, how can Zelensky be so dumb? Trump is trying to establish peace. And, when Zelensky went there and started that little argument there in the White House, it looks like, well, he knew that Donald Trump is on his side. And he was just trying to be brazen and bold at that point in time. And then even after that, you thought he was smacked down and all of us were fooled. It was that was just theatrics. And then even after that, just a week or so after that, he said to Trump that he wants a deal at least as good as what Israel gets. And of course, Israel, and Donald Trump said it, he said it right there on camera. So a lot of this stuff, you guys have to watch and see some of these signs and the things that Donald Trump says. He said, you're getting $4 billion a year. Congratulations. That was his words to Benjamin Netanyahu when they were sitting down in the same room where Zelensky supposedly got his beat down, which was nothing but theatrics. And of course, Israel gets much more than that. Israel, normally, they get at least $8 billion free from the American taxpayers because we have a special operation and Israel is such a loving country. They got the most moral army on earth. That's why they killed 60,000 innocent people. But don't worry, they're just brown-skinned Palestinians, so that doesn't matter. Oh, gosh, they're species. No, wait, that's the Russians are the species. Oh, the Palestinians are vermin. That's right. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Doesn't this stuff make you sick? I don't even want to think about this anymore. I'm getting myself riled up. I'm trying to make this video end so I can get it uploaded before going to Borisov. But anyway, so Trump has got us all fooled as well. And it looks like, I don't know if Zelensky's going to get this deal that's at least as good as what Israel gets. Belgium already promised him that they're going to send, I guess not I don't mean Belgium as in the European Union. I think Belgium, their government, the individual government, I think they promised him $1 billion every single year, hands down. And who knows? Maybe it is a loan. I have no idea. Do you think Zelensky's going to pay that back? He'll perish. It's going to be the Ukrainian people, and it makes you really wonder. I think a lot of the Ukrainian people, if they all don't get out of the country as fast as they can, they're probably starting to realize now that they've been taken, and they got a cabal in there that does not have their interests at heart. And even Maria Zakharova said that the other day. They're to fleece their own people. They're out to fleece everybody. And they were fleecing they're fleecing the Soviet Union, fleecing all this money. I put it out already in a couple of videos. They're getting all this money. They had a sucking sound that I think Russia knows. Maybe that's why Vladimir Putin said he doesn't have anything against Ukraine joining the European Union. Orban, of course, he cares about the European Union, and he's even come and said, we will go bankrupt. If you let Ukraine into the European Union, we're going to go bankrupt. So all this stuff that I'm saying to you is not coming from some deranged idiot that doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, I go through a lot of news. A lot of you guys do. You know a lot of this stuff. And the signs are on the wall. You just look at the trends. You can put the little dots all over the paper. You can connect the dots. They even have the numbers next to them. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's incredible. And here we're all watching this stuff, and we're getting played even by Donald Trump apparently. Or maybe I don't think Donald Trump is stupid. I think he's just a good actor. He knows how to play people. He's playing all of us. It's incredible. I had real hope for Donald Trump, but I don't know. I'm seeing now he's not any of the things that I thought were good. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the same thing. She says, what the heck are we doing? You know? So Donald Trump, he just was making some head fakes over here, and now he's doing the same thing as Biden is. I don't know. We're sitting there thinking, Zelensky finally has him around his little finger. Well, maybe that was always the case. I have no idea. All I know is that he's fully on the side of Ukraine. Russia and even Vladimir Putin said they're in this alone. You know, they're doing this by themselves. So it's absolute, well, of course, with Belarus. But luckily, Lukashenko, he's very good. We don't have the war yet in this country. We're getting threatened by, of course, the Baltics, which are the willing slaves of the globalists, as well as Ukraine. Ukraine has actually made a few kind of minor attacks. They tried to use Belarusian territory to fly drones, you know, to make a shortcut to bomb Russia. And they did do a few attacks. And it was this, what is it, A8 airplane. And I saw this airplane right after the attack. I can't say any more than that, you know, because I'm not trying to do anything to the Belarusian government. But I was probably one of the very, very few people that saw this thing when I did. But anyway, and too bad I can't talk about it. But anyway, they bombed it while it was in Minsk. The Ukrainians, and Lukashenko said, you better not do that again. You know, you're going to be in for a real rude awakening. You know, I mean, who would be stupid enough to get to increase the front line on their country? Ukraine already has, I don't know how many thousands of soldiers they have it on the border there. Some people say, I don't know if that'd be stupid to do an invasion. I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway, that's another story. So this video's long enough. I hope I can get this uploaded before I'm going to Borisov. And thanks for joining me. I'll see you on the next one, which might be today. You know, see what happens. I just want to show you the battlefield where Napoleon was defeated, and maybe a few little things in Borisov. So thanks. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.